I actually feel safer here with who I am. I feel more of my identity here than I have in the US ever. First of all, being Black, that's not an issue here. Being gay here is not important. People don't care who you are as long as you're a good person.
Meet Lee, a retired man from Alabama who left behind discrimination and depression to start a new chapter in Colombia. In this video, Lee shares how he met his husband online, navigated the visa process, adjusted to a new language, and found safety, community, and purpose in Pereira. I'm Eric. Let's get into it.
I am Lee Stoudemire, retired from Mobile, Alabama.
All right, so you're from Alabama, and where are we now?
And Pereira, Colombia.
Pereira, Colombia. You are retired here in Pereira in Colombia, and you worked for the State Department in Alabama. So how was your life there, and what led you to come here?
Well, I worked for the Department of Mental Health in Alabama. Life, of course, in Alabama for someone who's African American can be a little difficult. Decided to move to Colombia because of my husband. We've been together roughly 11 years, been married for 4, and I've been coming back and forth to Colombia for 13 years, more or less.
And your first trip coming down here to Colombia, was that due to the connection you had with your husband, or was it something else?
We actually met online on a platform that was like Facebook, and he saw a picture that I posted from Australia, and he was like, "Oh, bonita." And me being me, gracias. But I didn't speak Spanish. And so we started chatting as pen pals. We talked for almost 2 years before I even came to Colombia. I met him in Bogota. He lived most of his life in Bogota. He was born and raised here in a barrio called Kennedy. That's where the family's from.
Tell me, since you didn't speak Spanish when you met him, and you're studying Spanish now, right?
Right.
So how was that connection and that relationship with your husband? Tell us about the dynamics of him not speaking much English, right?
Well, when he said, the picture was very nice, and I said, "Thank you," he starts rattling off in Spanish. It was text message. And I was like, "Nope, can't do that. Sorry. I don't know Spanish, but I have a translator." And he goes, "Okay." And so he never wrote to me in English. So I was always doing the translations to communicate with him. The first time we met, for some strange reason, it wasn't difficult. Communication sure wasn't there, but we were still communicating in our own way. I think my job in the past, working with the deaf, kind of helped. Colombians are very gestural, and so I'm very visual. And so a lot of that helped. We were using my phone. I knew some basic stuff, so I knew enough to get by. But in-depth conversations, and for the majority of our relationship was text messages because he was always busy. I was always busy, so it was easy to say, "Hey, what you doing?" Later on, we started doing video calls. They went from 2 minutes to 10 minutes to 20, and the more I used the Spanish, the longer we would be on the phone together.
Can you mention a bit more about that job working with the deaf?
Sign language in Spanish basically has the same syntax. So learning the Spanish is not that difficult because I understand the grammar. It's just remembering the words. Now, he and I actually gesture a lot with each other because he started learning sign language. And so I could be somewhere across the room and he'll gesture something to me and I'm like, "Okay, got you." But again, like I said, the sign language really helps me now, like when someone's explaining where to go or to find something. Again, people are very gestural here. So with them speaking and the gesturing, I'm like, "Oh, okay, got you."
What was this job with sign language that you had back in America?
The beginning, I worked for the Department of Rehabilitation, and that was focused on finding jobs for people who were deaf. And I did that for 7 years. And then later I transferred, still within the department, but I transferred to the Department of Mental Health. And I did that for the rest of my career. So a total of 25 years with the state and 4 years with a community agency.
Before he was your husband, how did that shape your visa situation here?
Well, in the beginning, especially the beginning of our relationship, I wasn't really focused on a visa yet. But as years went along and then we were discussing getting married, and I would say I had a 5-year plan because 5 years until retirement. And that's when I started working on getting things in order. We were trying to decide on where we wanted to live. We were actually looking into Mexico at one point, but decided on Colombia. A few months before I moved, I contacted a group to help me with my marriage visa, and the process was very easy.
Why didn't you choose Mexico?
Colombia is actually closer to family, especially the family that I have here. Now, I'm not as close to my family in the US, but we're closer to his family here. And it's actually easier if we decide to travel like to Chile or Argentina, where the other members of the family are. It's a lot easier. My in-laws, I've been instructed not to call them in-laws, they are family. So when I tell people I have family here, they look at me and I go, well, they're my in-laws. But I was told they're my sisters and brothers.
As a gay Black man living in Colombia, how has your experience been here in terms of safety and other issues like that?
Excellent. I mean, I actually feel safer here with who I am. I feel more of my identity here than I have in the US ever. First of all, being Black, that's not an issue here. That's not important. Being gay here is not important. People don't care who you are as long as you're a good person. Even when I went back to the US to visit in March, I just felt very uncomfortable. Even though I was around friends, I still had this sense of dread the whole time I was there.
Do you think this feeling of comfort that you have here and the feeling of discomfort back home is a reason why you left?
One of the reasons, yes. I mean, my husband was the main reason, but another reason was to go somewhere where I feel a connection. I mean, I've only been here a year and I've lost track of how many people I've met, how many friends I've made in a short period of time. And everyone has been so nice, so accepting. They don't care. You're a good person, you got a good heart. That's all that matters.
If you're enjoying this interview and you're interested in seeing more content like this, you can check out my playlist called the Expat Interview Playlist, where I have been interviewing people from Guatemala all the way down through Central America and now here in South America. What's your daily life like here as a retired man from Alabama?
I have my morning routines. I like to go to the gym and work out in the mornings. If I don't do that, I go for long walks in the city. I'm still discovering places, so things here are more accessible. I don't have a car here. I don't need a car, and so no road rage. Well, my job required me to drive a lot, and I think this is another reason why I'm not in a rush to get a vehicle, because I was in the car for 25 years doing day trips.
How does it feel emotionally being retired here compared to back home?
After the first month, I was emotionally fine. The first month was very unsettling because everything was new. Now it's very tranquil because I know what to do. I know where to go. I can actually go out on my own now as opposed to depending on my husband all the time to go with me because he was my interpreter. In the US, even before I moved, once I retired in the US, I don't know, I went into almost a depressive state. I didn't go anywhere a lot in the US, wasn't interested. But here, I still like to be at home and be quiet. When I'm out, I'm a chatty type person. Once I go home, I like to be quiet. So I'm a little bit more outgoing than he is. I mean, he's sociable, but me, I'm about getting in your face, making that connection. Community-wise, we have a good network. He's still working on the English aspect of it. So say, for instance, I have an activity that's basically in English on Thursday nights.
That's how we met.
He's gone twice. And so he was going with me basically the first time to do reconnaissance and make sure it was a good environment for me. He went a second time because I was doing a presentation. But after that, he was like, I need a little bit more English vocabulary to feel comfortable. I was in the same boat when I first moved here. He was with his friends, in a huddle, and I'm sitting in the corner going, sure. Anyone? Cafe? So, but now it's a little bit more cohesive. We have some of the, not a lot, we have some of the same friends. But again, I'm very outgoing, so I'm talking to people on the street I've never met before, and he's like, I don't understand that.
And how was your interaction with the expat community?
We don't hang out often, and I think a lot of times they have activities at a time that's not really convenient for me. Even though I'm retired, I'm still busy. But everyone that I have met in the expat community has been very nice. We have one guy that comes to the language group. He's from Alabama as well. And so he lived in the US for a long time. But I don't know, everyone has just been oh, hey, welcome, welcome. And the same thing with the expat group. I don't feel ostracized just because of a skin tone or being gay. Of course, there's a lot of older people in this group from the US. So some may not, I can tell who's not as accepting but tolerant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I can accept tolerance. You don't have to like me or hang out with me all the time, but as long as you can tolerate my presence, I'm good.
Are there any other platforms that you use to meet up with other foreigners?
Thursday, we have the expats have a Facebook group. They have a WhatsApp group. I've actually met a couple of people and hung out with them from the WhatsApp group.
So you're mentioning the Facebook group. That's the expats in Pereira group?
It says choose Colombia. But most of the people in that group are either from like locally Pereira or Manizales and stuff like that, surrounding areas. So
do you have any advice to give to anyone perhaps in the gay community that is thinking about retiring or just coming down to live here in Colombia?
Plan ahead, make contacts prior to, be in contact with, ask questions. But I definitely say research. If you're coming, if you've never been, I recommend coming and staying for like a month or so and explore areas, maybe stay 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. But like I said, for me, it's been 13 years in the making. So it wasn't a rush decision. Actually came back the second time to make sure I liked it as much as I did the first time. So, and a lot of times on vacations, you'll go somewhere, you go back the second time and it's like, I don't like this. So I definitely recommend doing a few trips, making contacts, research.
What advice would you give to any gay retirees of color that are thinking of moving down to Colombia, but they're nervous about the move?
Come on down. All is welcome. Me being Black, me being gay, me being married to a man had no importance whatsoever.
As opposed to the feelings you had back home, it's more inviting and open than back home in the US.
Yes, in the US, and of course, again, I said I'm from Alabama, and no slam to everyone in Alabama, but Alabama, the majority of the people are not accepting. And when you're a Black male, it's double jeopardy. Black male and gay, yeah. In the Black communities is not so bad at times, it depends, but we'll say the majority of my friends were straight. I didn't go to the clubs as much. I wasn't partying. So I'm looking for more of a professional group, even here, the majority of my friends are straight. And it's not because I don't want to hang out with gay people, but I do realize here, I had to get my language first to be able to go out into the gay community and socialize like I want to.
So considering that Colombia is a pretty strongly Catholic type of society, do you feel any pressures from that group of people that are here in Colombia?
No, The only drawback was the fact that we had problems trying to find someone to do our vows, because although they don't care if you get married, it's not approved by the Catholic Church. It's approved by Colombia, but not the Catholic Church. Even there, most of the people who are devout Catholics and stuff, they're very loving. My family, for instance, my in-laws are very devout Catholics, but you would think that we grew up together. It's just that kind of love in the family. They're more happy that their brother is happy. They don't care about the circumstance behind it. So they were very welcoming when they first met me, and that just made me fall in love with this area even more.
And your husband, is he Catholic?
Yes, yes. We were at strike number 5 when we finally got married. We even had officials working in Bogota in one of the notary areas. She put the paperwork to the side because she didn't approve of it. So it ended up postponing everything. So we had to redo everything. But the guy that finally brought the marriage certificate and everything, he was like, we don't care. He said, our job is to make sure your paperwork is correct.
Well, Lee, I want to say thank you so much for giving your story, talking about all of these interesting things about moving down and your particular situation. And we actually had an awesome chat over in the noisiest part in all of Colombia. If you want to check out that chat with Lee, he talks a bit about more of the specifics about how much he spends to live a good life here in Colombia and his visa, a bit more of the process that he went through. Go ahead, check that out over here. Hasta la próxima. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.